Thanks so much, Jean-Christophe, and thanks for having me. So, yeah, before I play the video, maybe a bit of context about VerifyMy and what we do. So, at VerifyMy, we build solutions for age assurance and content moderation. So we've started in 2019 in the age assurance space, originally for e-commerce site for age-restricted products. And then we expanded, and we've worked with more industries within the age assurance space. And around kind of like 2020, 2021, there was like the start of a push for regulating adult sites. And so obviously there's been like lots of uptake from adult sites from our age assurance product. And we've been working a lot with this ecosystem. And in late 2021, MasterCard has published card brand requirements for adult sites that are using MasterCard, are processing payments for a certain number of requirements that the sites have to be compliant with. And that includes, obviously, no upload of illegal content on their platform, but that also includes the verification of the identity of the uploader of the video. That also includes the verification of the identity of all of the participants of the video. And that also includes the consent of the participants. I'll come back to it. And there are also like lots of other things, including reporting mechanism, complaints mechanism, dashboard, etc. And so at the end of 2021, early 2022, we've built this sort of like end-to-end solution so that adult sites can be compliant with the MasterCard brand requirements and like embedded in their site, and they can do like the full like ID verification, consent management, report mechanism, etc. What's interesting is that when you look at actually what does that mean to manage consent, we've been working and talking a lot to MasterCard to understand that. And we've developed actually also a technology that can scan the faces in the video. And and I'll show you the video in a minute, but basically when the content is uploaded, if there are like more faces in the content than the number of people that have been declared being in the content, the video is blocked, and we say, you've given consent for like 3 people, but actually we see 5 faces in the video. And obviously there's like the whole like detecting like CSAM and everything, which is a separate point. But maybe before I go further, I might just show you the video so that you can see like actually how the tool works. I don't know if because there's some sound on the video, but...
So pour la technique, on va faire la vidéo avec le son. Donc normalement, ils sont prêts à monter le son. We'll see.
Should I click play?
Yeah, I think now. Bon, je pense que...
I can explain it. Yeah, no, it's absolutely fine. I mean, I think that always like seeing visually how the tool works always help. But basically, it's very simple. You kind of like upload your video, and then you get a prompt asking to kind of like verify your identity, and then it asks you to enter the email of all the different participants, and then basically it sends a message to each of them, and then they have 2 choices. They can just basically click I consent, or they can click I do not consent. And when they click I consent, they actually have their own internal profile on the site, and at any moment they can also decide to revoke consent, or they can decide to kind of like at any point. Basically it's really like sort of like user empowerment tool almost, to kind of like say, you can decide whether you want this content to be up or down at any point in time. And so that has been developed like a couple of years ago, as I mentioned, and we'll probably come back to it in the discussion, but obviously I think one of the key points I wanted to make was really the tools are here, they exist, and now the real question is about how do we enforce them? Because obviously there is a requirement for a brand, but there is also like growing concern within society about this kind of like non-consensual image sharing and how we go about them and how we approach them. But most importantly, what's the incentive to actually enforce that? So that's where I also love to hear more about my fellow panelists on that.
Yeah, exactly. This is exactly what we're going to be discussing, how we make people get used to provide the consent and make companies that publish content be used to offer their creators the opportunity to say they consent. And that's the kind of a chicken and egg issue that we will be discussing. So now we are going to to switch to the NGO and activist side with Naomi. So Naomi, you are graduated from the International Governance and Diplomacy from Sciences Po, Science Politics, Political Science in Paris. You have joined Stop Fisha in early 2023, so you are in the international relationships team. And so for you, for your organization, so tell us about how consent is part of your DNA, of your philosophy. So is it a central element of your advocacy and to educate the people on the need to obtain consent? So, or is it just one tool among others? So tell us about how consent play a role into Stop Fisha, and you may also want to explain what Stop Fisha is more specifically.
Thank you, Jean-Christophe. So hello everyone, I'm very honored to be here today with you all. Just by show of hands, who has heard of Stop Fisha before? Okay, so we have quite a few people. I will explain very quickly. So the association was born in 2020 in response to the explosion of the diffusion of non-consensual intimate images that happened during the COVID-19 lockdown. And so our focus is pushing back against cybersexism and gender-based cyber violence. That includes IPSA, but it's not limited to it. There are many, many, many other ways to harm another person. As we know, humans are creative about that. So we have 4 pillars of action. The first one is we report harmful and misogynistic content. The second one is we raise awareness at every level we can. The third one is we accompany victims legally and psychologically. And lastly, we exert pressure and we advocate at the national, European, and international level. So that's particularly the role of the international relations team, which I am a part of. So as you can understand, consent is at the very center of our very existence. It's who we are, it's what we do, it's why we exist. And for us, consent is active, enthusiastic, informed, revocable at any moment. And none of these elements are negotiable, which means that for us, nothing can be considered consensual if even one of these elements is missing. And one of the biggest challenges we face is that a very big part of society does not subscribe to this definition. For perpetrators of gender-based cyber violence, and even for companies,